Hello and welcome again to the Writer Review. This is Eric Currott Writer, and this week we're going to be taking a look back at the 2013 biopic sports drama titled Rush. No, it's not based off of the Canadian rock band with Geddy Lee, Alex Lifeson, and the late great drummer Neil Peart. No, it's not about that at all. Even though this movie is set in the 70s and Rush was a very popular band in the 70s, but it's got nothing at all to do with them. It's actually got a lot to do with F1 Formula Grand Prix sports racing. Alright, the movie is directed by Ron Howard. It is produced by Ron Howard, Andrew Eaton, Eric Fellner, Brian Oliver, Peter Morgan, and Brian Grazer. The script was written by Peter Morgan. The score was done by Hans Zimmer. The cinematography by Anthony Dodd Mantle. And it was edited by Daniel Hanley and Mike Hill. And the stars of the movie are Chris Hemsworth, Daniel Bruhl, Olivia Wilde, Alexandra Maria Lara, Pierfranseco Favino, David Calder, Natalie Dormer, Stephen Mangan, Christian McKay, Alistair Petrie, Colin Stinton, and Julian Rhind-Tutt. Now, Rush stars Chris Hemsworth as a colorful and cinematic playboy party animal named James Hunt, who was also one of the all-time greats on the Formula One circuit. Contrary to his lifestyle, Daniel Bruhl stars as Hunt's rival, Australian-born racer Niki Lauda, who is very aloof, arrogant, and only cares about winning, and everything else is all secondary to him. He is just obsessed with winning in these Formula One and doesn't want anything to stand in his way. So we have two rival Formula One racers with a different lifestyle for them. One of them is, laid back, parties all the time. He's doing this for the glory, while another one is doing it as a ways of commitment. Either way, how you look at it, if you wish to pick or choose a side, you'll find that both of these individuals are unique in their own very special ways. In fact, Lauda believes that happiness is a sign of weakness to his regiment. And though Hunt and Lauda have butted heads on the other minor Formula circuits, the real conflicts begin in 1976 during the granddaddy of them all, the ever-dangerous Formula One racetracks, where many championships were won, while many people's lives have been lost. Lauda, utilizing his carefully selected cars and strategic acumen, manages to win his way at Ferrari. His hopes of joy and confidence comes crashing down when he's ousted by his arch-rival James Hunt, who shows that his style is equally significant to his substance. With one of the most dangerous spots on the Formula One course, Hunt and Lauda will convert to extreme lengths to prove who's the best, while not caring of the physical or psychological implications that go into the course. Filled with fast-paced action, high-octane thrills, and a compelling story of one of the most bitter rivalries in Formula One racing, Rush definitely truly goes beyond the excitement of the screeching of the tires and competitors striving to the very best, but is also a character-driven drama that looks at how the closest of friends can even be the bitterest of enemies, when competition is in the air, and that the motto of win big or die trying couldn't have been more literally said. If you lack knowledge of Formula One racing, well, guess what? No worries at all. The emotions of the characters and the character development between Hunt and Lauda will surely make you choose a side as to who you wish will win in this most dangerous sport in the world. And Chris Hemsworth and Daniel Bruhl do an excellent job at conveying the conflicting rivalry between these two hugely competitive racers, with each having sort of a different lifestyle off the race course. One of course is laid back and parties like there's no tomorrow, and then there's another one who depends too much heavily on hard work and dedication to get ahead. Either way, when you pick a side, who would you rather choose? The fun-loving, arrogant, cocky guy who thinks that this sport is just a game and doesn't really think anything more or less about it? Like one is just in it for the glory and one is in it for the sake of their livelihood. Either way, they're all very unique. There's no real antagonist between the rivalry. Just two people who have different styles of class. Just two people who look through the world in a different light. One is a laid-back, free spirit. Another one is a person who doesn't want anything standing in his way. Either way, they're not antagonists. There's no more or less between two evils here. Both these guys have respect for each other, maybe off the course, but when it comes to the competitiveness, where there can only be one winner, that's when the rivalry really, really takes off. At first, these two don't get along because of their contrary lifestyles. But as you see, as time goes on, they start to progressively show a lot of mutual respect. Maybe one might probably learn a lesson to sort of lay back a little bit, while another person needs to just sort of, you could still enjoy the party life, but you also have to take these kind of courses very, very seriously, because it's not just a battle of life and limb or championships, but also we have to be careful. These courses are very, very dangerous. So you have to kind of balance between both ends here. And eventually, they eventually actually show a bit of respect for one another as the film progresses. You'll see in a bit. Under the direction of Ron Howard, he ensures his audience that they will likely see the two leading rivals show both admiration for the athleticism and at the same time exhibit an obvious disdain for their ways of life. We both applaud and at the same time don't envy their career professions. Their lease of life consists of enjoying life like every day could end unexpectedly, and the other to achieve their goal to represent why they compete in this level to begin with. Under the wonderful script by Peter Morgan, we can get further invested into the rivalry between Hunt and Lauda better, and that the polar opposites between the two never looked better. We can easily be more invested into Hunt's character and Chris Hemsworth as his parting ways matches his daredevil, high adrenaline energy he brings to these race courses. His reckless style of driving is the perfect married couple to his wild lifestyle of partying, sex, drugs, and everything in between. Of course, that kind of all contributed to his unfortunate demise at a relatively young age, because he passed away in 1993 from a heart attack, and at the very young age, he was very young when he died. He was only 45 years old. It's sad, but still, hey, the guy just lived his life casually. I guess he kind of knew that, life was short, and we just have to go with what's given to us. Whether we live a long life or whether we live a short life. In this case, he lived a short life, but he lived like there was no tomorrow. Underneath him, we actually see a flawed man who fears life, which contributes to his boisterous lifestyle. In a rather small supporting role, Olivia Wilde is wonderful in the role as his first wife, Susie Miller, who definitely uses Hunt as a stepping stone to eventually become engaged to Hollywood legend Richard Burton, which of course really crushed a lot of James Hunt's spirit when he realizes that his first wife, Susie Miller, was only just using him as a stepladder just so that she could go after a more high-esteemed actor like Richard Burton, who, I don't know how many times he's been married. I think he's been married about like 5 or 6 times in his life. I don't know what number she is, but I bet you eventually, sooner or later, she'll realize that she is just another number in his marriage game. Oh, she'll learn the hard way, and then she'll regret it. So, no hair off his back. By way of contrast, Daniel Bruhl is perfectly cast as the no-nonsense racer Niki Lauda, whose social interactions are virtually non-existent and carries this conflicted burden over his shoulders the whole time through. Not only does he look and act like the determined driver, he also plays off the obsessive compulsiveness his character goes through, like choosing the right car that will win him championships, even down to the weight and the aerodynamics of the cars, while he at the same time possesses a little bit of a misanthropic way in life he sees in humanity and doesn't care what they think of him. The scene where he opens up to his first wife, Marianne, played by Alexandra Maria Lara, we get to know that he's not a complete anti-socialite. The joyride in Italy is quite heart-pulsating. Lauda believes that happiness is his liability, as he explains to Marlene that there is no happiness that comes in the career choice he made. Yes, he knows that he has to take his job, his career path very, very seriously. I mean, this is the life he chose. And if he's not careful or take any kind of precaution, it could be the end of him. The reason why he's kind of like self-contained and kept to himself, not really because he doesn't like people too much. He just doesn't like interviews, and he doesn't really like adjusted to the interactions of others. And he also just seems like if he's not concentrating on his craft, it could be a distraction. I mean, this is a guy who's just gung-ho serious about what he wants to do, and he just wants everything pushed aside. The racing scenes provide some of the most in-your-face action you'll ever witness. It's like we're literally in the driver's seats. That feels like a roller coaster ride as the wheels race through the tracks, going way over the speed limit. The climax in the movie takes place at the Nürburgring circuit in Germany, which the racers from the past referred to as the Green Hell, in which wet conditions on the track can be proven deadly and rivalries within players can be a matter of winning big or dying trying. The track will determine who will compete in the World Championship in Japan, and we ask ourselves, is it worth winning the grandest prize, knowing that weather conditions are bad and that racers can get hurt or even killed just for the top prize? Well, I got one sentence to sum that all up. You bet it does. You think after all this time getting here, you're just gonna throw it all away? Hell no. I don't think so. Howard wisely observes the psyche between Hunt and Lauda as to see what's going through their minds, as each are contemplating the consequences they will face in this challenge. And it could literally be a battle between life and death. And sometimes not even winning the championship may not matter most, but the fact that you could still walk out of here in one piece, maybe collect the consolation prize, and you could also consider it a job well done. I'm sure they pay handsomely whether you win or lose, or whether you wipe out. But in the end, this is putting your life on the line. And you can walk out in one piece, or you can or you can be flown home in a box, ready to be buried 6 feet below. It is that dangerous. This movie is truly an exciting and dramatic film that was sadly snubbed at the Oscars, even though other award shows gave praise for this movie. The competitive nature between James Hunt and Niki Lauda is brought to life, which is more like a stepping stone to their winning ways, as the more disdain they have for each other, the more successful they've become in Formula racing. With a fine blend of exciting races, we have a movie that's high in drama, humor, romance, and the poetic rivalry between polar opposites is the meal ticket to a gem of a film. I gotta say, this movie really even has much more depth than, Days of Thunder, with Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman. This movie is 10 times better than Days of Thunder. I mean, I thought that the character chemistry between the two rivalries was really good. This was really character driven, even though most of the heavy cargo went to both Chris Hemsworth and Daniel Bruhl. I still actually like to think that this movie is probably one of the best movies that came out in 2013. And I truly gotta say, I got a lot of positive things to say about this movie. This movie is clearly maybe one of the best that came out in 2013. And I'm just ashamed that this movie is still so badly underrated, because I think it deserves more, a better look, it needs to be looked at into much more. That's really all I have to say about this movie. I am at a loss of words. Once again, Ron Howard truly delivers another fine, great movie. And, it just goes to show you that even through his advanced age, he could still create some really good movies. And, he still has a lot more to offer in the years to come. So if I was to give this a scale out of 10, I have to give Rush a perfect 10. I don't give 10s that often, but this movie deserves a 10. I highly recommend everybody to see this. I think this is 10 times better than Days of Thunder. Not to say that Days of Thunder was a bad movie, but this movie really truly has that competitive spirit to it. like no other. So I guess this ends my writer review. Thank you all for listening in. If you wish to subscribe to my YouTube channel, please feel free to do so. If you wish to leave a comment, go right ahead. But just remember the 3 simple rules. Be kind, be courteous, and please don't be rude. And I will be back again with another movie review. So until next time, this is Eric Writer saying, keep watching those movies, and I'll see you around. Goodbye.